I grew my last company from nothing to $150,000 a month in 3 months using the cash framework. There are 4 steps to the framework. C, to create an offer, A, to attract attention, S, to sell your solution, and H, to handle fulfillment. Using the same framework, I recently helped launch a brand new business and made $7,000 in less than 30 days. So by the end, if you're a beginner, you'll know how to launch a service or a consulting business from scratch, or if you have an existing business, this will help you increase sales. If you don't know who I am, my name is Mohammed Malik. I'm a go-to-market consultant, and I help founders scale from their first million to 12 million in revenue. The biggest mistake that I see founders make is marketing their product or service in a very generic way. They fail to articulate how the product or service helps the prospect solve a problem or get a specific outcome. So what they do is they either try to be cheap or have better customer service, and this makes you a commodity in the market, and it's not going to help you stand out. And the result is that the marketing efforts that you do fail, and then you come back and say things like certain things did not work. But the real reason, it's not that it didn't work, it's that you didn't create the foundation to communicate with the market why your product and service is better. This is the biggest reason most founders can't get off the ground, or you can't crack acquisition outside of referrals. So step 1 in the cash framework is creating an offer. So an offer, as I define it, is a better, faster, easier way to communicate with the market about what you do. Now, there's a difference between an offer that is value-based versus price-based. And the issue with price-based offers is that it's a race to the bottom. You're always trying to be cheaper than the other guy. A value-based offer allows you to differentiate yourself from everybody else that's in the market, and it makes the prospect think about the value that they're going to receive, not about the price of your service. So price is what you pay, value is what you get. And the way that I think about creating an offer is to make it so good that I don't have to justify my price or my experience. This is why if you're just starting out, this can play in your favor given that you can deliver on the value of the thing that you're offering. Now, there's 2 ways to approach it. You can create or borrow an offer. So let's talk about borrowing an offer. So I made my first $100,000 in 8 weeks by borrowing an offer. So I had spent $24,000 on a coach to learn how to start an online fitness business. I went all in. And the dumb thing that I did was I stopped my main source of income, and I was living off of savings. So 6 months later, I burned through all my cash and I maxed out all my credit cards. And I was spending tons of money on ads, but the strategy was not helping me convert people. And you wanna know why? My offer sucked. I was inviting people to a free Facebook group and doing a 7-day challenge. Now for me, this was rock bottom. I was living out of my car by this point, and as a last Hail Mary, I had to get a job at Apple, and I decided to go back to personal training. But I had to start from zero because all of my old clients were training with a buddy who I referred them to. So I found a gym to rent, but I had no money to pay rent. So I asked the owner if I could sell first and then pay him from the sales. Luckily, he agreed. So I knew how to run Facebook ads and I knew how to sell, but I didn't know what my offer was going to be, and I didn't have the skills to create one. So I decided to borrow one. And at that time, I joined Gym Launch and I borrowed the offer that they were using, which was the free 6-week challenge. I ran ads, I sold my face off, and I made my first $6,000. I used that money to start my own gym, and in 8 weeks of doing sales, I made $100,000 cash collected. So instead of having to go out and creating an offer from scratch, I borrowed an offer that was already working and made it my own and just sold. Listen, I invested into Gym Launch to have the ability to borrow the offer. So don't go out there and rip someone else's offer. I know in the industry, hacking funnels and ads is a big thing now. And I'm not saying to do that. What I am saying is to use them as inspiration and create your own version of it. That's called imitation, not ripping somebody off, right? Recently, I helped my YouTube strategist and director do this. He looked at what a competitor was doing, created his own version, and he landed 3 clients in 48 hours of going live. So here's a quote to drive this home. We're imperfect mirrors. Like a funhouse mirror that distorts what it reflects, your imitation will turn out much different from the original, maybe even better. So the other option that you have is you can go out and create your own offer, which majority of you should be doing. So let me explain how you can do that. In November 2020, 2025, I launched a mental health offer in the B2C space. And after 7 days of launching, I was getting a 7x ROAS, which is a return on ad spend. So I spent $1,000 in ads, made $7,600 back. So here's what I did, and I created an offer using the 4S formula. And I learned this from Cole Gordon, where you can use the 4S formula to create the backbone of your offer. So what we want to do using the 4S formula to figure out a specific problem, a specific person, in a specific way, in a specific time. And I added the time element to it because in my experience, adding time to your offer works really well. So the first part is figuring out a specific problem. And I need to find the problems that people in the market are struggling with right now. So to find the problem, I start by doing a lot of research and I create what it's called a swipe file. And this is including YouTube videos, books, articles, podcasts, meta ads, video sales letters, webinars, anything I can get my hands on. My goal is to see what are others doing, more specifically, how are they communicating the problem and positioning their solution. And by doing the research, it allows me to immerse myself into the world so I can live, breathe, and talk about the thing that I'm trying to solve. Now, I'm a nerd and I'm a systems thinker and I have a very unique way of absorbing information and processing it, and I call it synthesizing. So I start by going through VSLs, landing pages, testimonial videos, and ads, and I start taking notes. My goal is to rewrite everything in my own words and capture the ideas as they come up as I process the information. And what ends up happening is when you consume all this information, I allow my brain to naturally find patterns that come up with my unique angle in the market that is different. So part 2 of the 4S formula is the specific person, and the specific person in marketing is known as the ICP, which is the ideal customer profile. Now, the best way to learn about the ideal customer is to read reviews and testimonials and read the things that they write. And the best place to do that I have found is Reddit. And you can find the exact words that people are using to describe their problems in their own words. It's kind of crazy. And I want to understand who this person is, how they think, how they describe their pain, and how can I use their language to communicate with them. So how I do this is I do it by using AI. So I'll have it scrape Reddit and reviews and help me pull out specific statements. I want to know how my ideal customer describes their problem that they're struggling with, what they tried, the desires that they have, and the specific ways that they describe their situation. Once I know that, I'm going to move on to part 3, which is the specific way. This is the unique way that you're going to approach the problem. This is also known as the unique mechanism. And this is a new or novel way that you would resolve the problem so the person is intrigued and wants to engage because they've never heard of it before. Think of this as your proprietary method. This is not a fancy name. It's a 3 to 5 step process or thesis that explains the path to success for your market. Now, this also acts as the simultaneous explanation of why everything that they've tried in the past has failed and why the majority of the market is failing and why your approach is different, unique, and superior. Now, for the offer that I launched, the unique mechanism is neurosomatics. It's a combination of neuroplasticity and somatic therapy. I'm positioning this as a better solution than therapy, medication, or breath work. Now, part 4 in the 4S formula is the specific time. Depending on the product or service, I like to add a time component to it. The human brain likes to think in constraints. So being able to think infinitely is hard. That's why I like doing what is called a Trojan horse offer. When I work with agencies, I tell them not to sell the retainer. Instead, we want to sell someone a solution for 30, 60, or 90 days. We want to over deliver with value. Then we want to win their trust over, then upsell them into a back-end offer. So when I ran the 6-week challenge for my gyms, it was a 6-week intro offer. Then after 3 weeks, we would convert them into a 12 or 24 month client. And for this new offer that I launched, my specific time was 10 weeks. Step 2 of the cash formula is attracting attention. So after I complete all of my research, now my head's buzzing. But an offer is only good if you have a vehicle to deliver it. So think of your offer like a gift, and we need a vehicle or a method to deliver that gift. And the vehicle is the channel or method that you will use to get your offer in front of people. And there's 4 ways that you can do that. You can use paid ads, cold outreach, referrals, or content. Now, I picked the method based on my TAM. Now, TAM is total addressable market. This means how many people are in your market that you can potentially sell to. If your TAM is small, then you'll probably have to rely on cold outreach, content, and referrals. If you have a massive TAM, then paid ads works really well. Now for the offer that I launched, I had a massive TAM. I was in the B2C market and we were helping everyone that is struggling with anxiety, trauma, or suppressed emotions. So I chose paid ads on Meta to test the offer. And the funnel that I ran was a simple call funnel. And here's the structure. It was an ad to an application to a call. And so people saw a direct ad that had the offer, they filled out an application, and they booked a free consultation. Now, paid ads are a great way to test the offer and get data back very quickly. I launched the ads and in 2 hours, I had people filling out the application and booking calls. That's how I knew the offer resonated with the market. Now, paid ads are the fastest, cold outreach is the hardest, referrals are the easiest, and content is the longest, in my opinion. Now, knowing that, you should just be able to pick your poison. All of the methods work. Think of all of these things as tools. You just need to know how to use the tools and when. Step 3 of the cash formula is selling your solution. And this is how I turned $928 into $7,600. And this is why when you know how to create an offer, attract attention, and sell, making money feels illegal. So for this offer, once I saw the calls were being booked, the next thing I started working on was the sales process. And the first thing I need to do is create a pitch and a talk track to help me convert prospects into customers. So the first thing that I work on is my pitch. And the pitch is the 3 to 4 step explanation of everything that they've tried, why it hasn't worked, and why my offer is better. And once I have my pitch, I back up and I work on my discovery questions. Now, discovery is the part of the sales process that comes first. The goal is to build rapport, set the frame, and start asking questions to understand the situation of the prospect. That's discovery. So the syntax that I follow when selling is a problem first syntax, because I want to figure out what are all of the problems that the prospect is struggling with right now. Then I move over to goals or the desires that they have. Now, an easy way to see this is I want to know the current situation, then I want to know the desired situation, then I can present my offer as the solution or the bridge to go from your current situation to my desired situation. If you'd like for me to put together a full in-depth course on sales, comment sales below. So the first couple of calls that I took did not go as planned. People showed up and they trauma dumped on me, but every call gave me so much valuable data. Now, when I ask founders about their offer, the funny part is when I speak to most founders about their offer, they usually will pull up a GPT document about their offer. And I know they like brainstormed and mental masturbated with GPT, but they have no real data. So I asked them on purpose, how many prospects have you actually talked to? And 9 times out of 10, it's 0. How would you know if your offer will resonate if you have not communicated with the prospect at all or looked at successful competitors? The founders that are successful will have 25 to 50 product market fit conversations with their ideal prospect to learn about their problems. Then they're gonna go out and build a solution. And unfortunately, most founders get it hella twisted. So those early calls that I took were extremely helpful, and that allowed me to make small tweaks and adjustments to my sales process. And here's the thing, you're not gonna get better at sales by prepping or reading sales books or taking sales courses. You get better at sales by doing it and then you refine it. So once you know how to sell, it's literally one of the greatest skills that you can learn. Step 4 of the cash formula is handling fulfillment. So when it comes to starting a business from nothing, I like to sell, then build. I see a lot of founders make this mistake so many times where they build and then they try to sell. Sometimes it works, but many times it doesn't. Because what most founders do is they don't have product market fit conversations to build something that the market actually wants. Then they come to people like me to help them market and sell their product. So I'm about to give you the secret sauce on how to sell and then build. And this will allow you to literally build a business from nothing. And this is how I grew my first consulting company to $90,000 a month. So when I started, I didn't have a product. I only had an idea. So I sat down and I made a step-by-step outline of how I would help someone accomplish the result that I was promising in my offer. I didn't complicate it. I literally opened up a Google Doc and just brain dump everything. And the outline will give you confidence when you are selling. So the outline that I made was helping personal trainers and gym owners transition online and be able to scale their online business. And the first thing I did was sold 5 people into a beta program. And I was very transparent with people. I told them, hey, I'm doing this at a lower price. I'm using your feedback to build the program and I want to collect testimonials. All you have to do is stay 1 week ahead of them. And that's it. This allowed me to take the feedback from the previous week to create the materials for the next week. Their feedback helped me build a product that was specific to the customer on what they needed. So I sold those first 5 people for $1,200 and it started with a Google Doc with Loom videos. Eventually, it was put into a program with some accountability, tech support, and a software component for $5,800. Now remember, you could have the best sales process, the best product, and a great way to get attention, but none of that matters if your offer sucks.